If you're within hearing range of my voice, here's my prayer for you. Elsie Abbey. Happy birthday to you, Elsie Abbey. Much love to you from Michaela, Nana Samantha, Inshira Nyamiye, and your mom Stephanie. They love you. Yeah. Lieutenant Kenalaba Machi, I know you love this one. And to you, Jade and Simuye. Shouting out to you, Lois Finn Ellis. Welcome to old age, Mrs. Lois Finn Ellis. Happy 40th birthday to you. Much love from Sam and the Trinity Adorable Girls. They love you forever. And a belated birthday wish to you, Baba Mason, Mrs. Baba Mason. Welcome to floor number 5. Happy 50th birthday, though the wish is belated. Much love to you. Mrs. Margaret Amma Odua Boateng of Kofodia, New Jobbing at 80. Happy 80th birthday, Mrs. Margaret Amma Odua Boateng. It's from their painting family to you. Air Commodore Pumpuni at 85. A belated 85th birthday to you, Air Commodore KK Pumpuni. Yesterday was yours. Oh man, salute. NCWE 85 and counting. To God be the glory. And shouting out a happy birthday wish to you. Happy birthday to you, Wilhelmina Baba Dodd. Many happy returns of the day. Bless you. Have a great birthday, Wilhelmina Baba Dodd. It's from David Divine to you. Love and best wishes and God's blessings. Happy birthday, Mina. And to you, Mr. Abraham Anochi Abebre, say Have a beautiful day, Mr. Abraham Anochi Abebre. It's from Mami Yaba to you. Betty Ajiman Boateng at Jesu Baptist Church. Happy birthday to you, Betty Ajiman Boateng. Happy birthday number 41. It's from your brother Seth Kwame Boateng. Hey Seth, and to say Nana Hardin, belated wishes to you. Yesterday was yours. Good morning, Edith. Thank you very much. And to you, Stella Frimpong Boateng of Crenson Pharmacy, Chibi. It's from Koje Free, a.k.a. Joe Castro of Ghana Immigration Service, Lubo. And from Dan Jude as well. And this one says happy birthday to our daughter Jonelle Baba Aseda Samson. Enjoy your birthday, Jonelle Baba Aseda Samson of St. Joseph Catholic Academy in Apam. It's from Jonathan Yoni Samson of Koda Central Region and his beautiful wife Ellen. Bismarck Opoku, aka Captain Bio in Tema. Enjoy your day from Ajwa Roberta and Kwabenya Hills to you. Papa Penny Ofieha, Apostle George Kofina. Retired Apostle George Kofina, Church of Pentecost Apostle. It's from Father Dixon and the entire family to you. And retired Apostle George Kofina say, or Diana say, Yaminko Sun Shrine or Despite Media. Yeah, Papa say Kwame. Yeah, Papa Ernesto for Isapong. Apostle George Kofina say, Yamin Shrine in Anini Juma. Happy birthday to you, Diana Kome, Elias Dini from Girls Arena to you. One to you, Jacob Edward Nanapra Jr. from your dad, Abo Wabone. Evans Kujo. Happy birthday, Evans Kujo, Adekoge, A.K. Akachuku. It's from your brother Joe Bless of the Ministry of the Interior. Happy birthday to you, Mercy Danso of Achimdan. It's from Evans Litmos in Italy. God bless you, he says. This morning, Dr. Alfred Gorman from Luca Health is here. He's a cardiologist and cardiovascular disease specialist. We'll be talking about the heart, complications, heart failure, and what have you. Here, and the final slot before the interview says a belated wish to a brother, a man with a good heart, Abubakar Mohammed of MTN. Enjoy your day, Abubakar Mohammed, though the wish is belated from UGBS 2000 and Club 2000 members. They say you're a man with a good heart. Another belated one to Eric Kwesi Apia of CBG. Yours was yesterday, love from your wife Laurentia and the twins, Ife and Kofi. It's also from the Eshan, Apia, Ando, Okayan and Wansa families to you. Chelsea Ofosuhene. Happy birthday, Chelsea Ofosuhene, from your sweet mom Janet and your dad Charles Ofosuhene and your little brother. And happy birthday, Sisi Akosia Dumasan, aka Auntie B in the UK. It's from your family and siblings, especially Auntie Kunedu in Accra. And shouting out to you, Beatrice Datson, wherever you are, have a good day. And to you, George Mason, good morning, bro. Mr. Albert Ado of the Bank of Ghana, a belated birthday wish you, Mr. Albert Ado. It's from JBS Ado in Apam to you. It says Chairman General live from Kumasi. Shout out to Miss Wilma Catherine Tete. Enjoy your birthday, Miss Wilma Catherine Tete, aka High Star of KNUST from K Dansu to you. Yes, Eunice Ohipeni, happy birthday, Eunice Ohipeni. It's from Samote Adano and Mrs. Vasti Adano. Triplets are 10. It says the triplets are 10. All the boys are Dom Aburem Ejakwa, Ayeyi Aburem Ejakwa, and Asida. So Adom Ayeyi and Asida Aburem Ejakwa. Happy 10th birthday to you. Of the Victory Presby School in Fafraha. Your father, Reverend Jonas Aburem Ejakwa. Your dear mother, Mrs. Georgina Ejakwa. And the Frimpong family wish you God's blessings. Triplets. And you better sound. Abena Jimfua and Ineje Bonsu, you're also 10 years old today. Abena Jimfua and Ineje Bonsu of Class 4 Nightingale St. Teresa School. Happy 10th birthday from your dad, Kwesi and Ineje Bonsu, your dear mom, Rita, Mami and Kokrokoo. Time check, 7:30 by the studio clock, and in the studio this morning, as I mentioned earlier, Dr. Alfred Gorman. He's a cardiologist and cardiovascular disease specialist. He is with the Luca Health Medical Specialty Center. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for your time and good to see you again.
Thank you for inviting me back.
Well, why not? We need it all the time. Now, doctor, so what is heart failure? What are the symptoms? What are the causes? How is one able to tell that is on his way?
Okay, heart failure is a condition in which the pumping function of the heart or the filling pressures of the left ventricle are impaired, and this can lead to various problems and conditions. With respect to symptoms, there are a number of symptoms that we can see in patients who have heart failure, such as shortness of breath. Patients complain of fatigue. They complain of fast heart rate. They complain of swelling of the feet. They can have swelling of the stomach. And typically, they will tell us that they are unable to lie flat in bed, where they have to sit up in order to breathe. So those are some of the symptoms that we see. And there are a number of causes of this condition.
Let me ask, so if it is that you have shortness of breath, you're unable to lie flat on the bed, and does it necessarily mean that you're on your way to heart failure?
No, sir. There's other conditions that can cause this as well.
Mm-hmm. What other conditions?
Sleep apnea, that's one condition that can cause that. Or
sleep apnea?
Sleep apnea,
Now,
yes,
what's
sir.
sleep apnea?
Sleep apnea is a condition where patients they can stop breathing when there is a sleep, and that can compromise the oxygen flow. And believe it or not, that affects the heart, specifically the right side of the heart. And patients who have sleep apnea also have a tendency to have elevated blood pressure, so they can go hand in hand.
Now, it sounds very scary, but what are some of the complications?
Yes, sir. Heart failure is actually a scary condition, but some of the complications that we can see with this condition is something called heart or cardiac cachexia, and that means that patients will have a significant weight loss. It's felt that it's due to muscle mass being lost because the heart is not producing enough oxygen and blood flow to the muscle. Other complications that we can see with heart failure are lung complications. Specifically, fluid can build up in the lungs. You can get what's called pulmonary edema. In addition, the heart can have abnormal heart rhythms in heart failure, conditions such as atrial fibrillation, ventricular tachycardia, ventricular fibrillation, all of which are very serious conditions. You can have a decreased appetite with heart failure, or even kidney problems. So those are some of the complications that we can see in this condition.
Are there do's and don'ts that may prevent this?
Yes, sir, there are. And I think the few times I've been here, I always hamper on a number of things. And there are some do's and don'ts that we try and stress. Some of them, one is control your blood pressure. So blood pressure is one of the number one causes of heart failure. So we tell patients to monitor their blood pressure. What we can see is uncontrolled blood pressure can lead to heart failure. In addition to uncontrolled blood pressure, sodium. I'm back on that sodium again. So sodium or salt intake.
So we should be careful of salt.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We should definitely be careful of salt because that can elevate the pressure. Salt brings in fluid, and the fluid, again, the heart has to pump the fluid throughout the body. So those are some of the things that we see. Weight gain can cause that, or obesity, let me put it like that, or diabetes. So those are some of the risk factors that we see. Believe it or not, alcohol can do it. Alcohol is a toxin to the heart, and what can happen is that the heart muscle can become weak from that and overuse of alcohol. Viral infections can actually cause heart failure as well. So there are a number of things that can lead to this, and there's a number of things that we recommend that you try to modify lifestyle changes in order to prevent the risk of developing heart failure.
Whew, scary. Exercise helps?
Yes, sir. Exercise does help. Exercise, it helps strengthen the heart. When you strengthen the heart, typically that increases the blood flow not only to the heart, but to other organs of the body as well. And also exercise, believe it or not, has a psychological effect where it can help you feel better. And believe it or not, patients who, as I mentioned, who can have cachexia, cardiac cachexia, a lot of times they feel tired. And so exercise can help them feel better about themselves and just overall body. So it does help, yes.
What kind of exercise would you recommend? Because, some people just get to hear that, take a walk, play tennis, play football, play golf, do this. Go to the gym. What kind of exercise is basic that can be of help?
All of the above. And when I say that, everyone is different. The recommendation is for all of our patients to move. If you like to move by walking, that's good. If you like to play tennis, if you like to swim, that's good. I've actually spoken with patients about sitting in a chair, patients who are limited with arthritis, sitting in a chair, putting 1 or 2 pounds of something in their hands, turning on music, whatever they like, and move their body for 15 or 20 minutes. With respect to time, the recommendation is to exercise at least 150 minutes per week, and that's about 20 to 30 minutes per day. And I typically tell patients not to overdo it. And when I say overdo it, don't try and get your heart rate up as high as it can go, but get a good pace going if you're walking. Try and get the heart rate up, the blood pressure up a little bit as well. So everyone is different with respect to exercise. Some people don't like to run. So as long as you're moving and doing things, that's the main thing.
You said something about everybody is different. So at what point do you determine that you're overdoing it?
Well, I try and talk with the patients and try and find out what their limitations are. For instance, if a patient has an issue with arthritis, I tell them don't run because that can cause joint problems. So what I tell them to do is walk, make sure that they're walking on the proper surface, because if you walk on an improper surface, believe it or not, that can affect the knees and the shins and the feet. Tell them to have the correct shoes on also. So I try to individualize most patients and let them know, what I think is best for them or what they like to do. For instance, some patients like to swim or some like to golf. Believe it or not, I ask them when they're golfing, are you walking up to the greens or are you driving the cart up to the greens? That's exercise if you're walking from the cart path up to the greens. So everyone, again, you have to sort of individualize each patient.
Dr. Gorman, what are the tools and techniques for diagnosing heart failure?
There are a number of tools. The first tool, of course, is a thorough history where you talk to the patient, you get a history, find out what's going on, their past history, the family history, what we call their social history, if they drink, if they smoke, if they exercise. But in addition to that, that can sort of lead you to additional testing. Some of the common tests that we look at, at the iron count, that can lead to heart failure. We look at anemia. We look at kidney function and so forth. We look at an EKG. An EKG has specific patterns that we can see in some patients who have heart failure. We look at chest x-ray to look at the heart size. We also do an echocardiogram, which is an extremely important tool. That's an ultrasound of the heart, where we can actually look at the inside of the heart. Believe it or not, from the outside, there's no needles involved, by the way. You can look at the heart squeeze. You can look at the valves of the heart, see if they're restricted or not. You can look to see if there's fluid around the heart, and can actually see if there's you can measure the indirect pressures of the lungs by looking at this. And there's another tool we measure with the echo. It's called the ejection fraction, which is the amount of blood that pumps with each beat. But stress tests, we use that. So there's a number of tools that we can use, and if need be, we may have to do a biopsy. It's sort of rare, a biopsy of the heart, but it can be done if needed, because there are some conditions that can be associated with heart failure that can only be diagnosed by biopsy.
In case you just tuned in, Dr. Alfred Gorman is a cardiologist and cardiovascular disease specialist, has been practicing for well over 30 years, and he's from the Luca Health Medical Specialty Center in East Legon. Now, tell us about the management options you use in treating heart failure.
Okay, the first thing with management is educating the patient. And again, that's talking about lifestyle, having them know what can exacerbate or cause a problem with the heart failure. So we educate the patient on things to do and not to do. In addition to that, management includes medications. There are a number of medications out there that we can use in order to help with heart failure, such as lowering the blood pressure, lowering the heart rate, making the blood flow to the heart flow better, increasing the heart flow, I should say. So there are a number of medicines that we can use with respect to classes of medications. But in addition to medications, sometimes patients have progressive heart failure where they may need an ICD, which is a defibrillator or a shock box. These are patients who are at increased risk of developing an abnormal heartbeat. So those are some of the main tools that we use, mainly medication, as you mentioned, exercise, and education.
You just mentioned something, progressive heart failure. What is that?
Progressive heart failure is heart failure that's gotten to the point where patients are having more symptoms. When we classify heart failures, we classify them usually into four groups, four classes, 1 through 4, with 4 being the highest. And at times, patients will progress from the minimal stage, from 1 up to 4. So as they progress through these stages, we have to try and modify our management. So the progressive stages, the 3 and 4, are the ones that we're concerned about all, of course, but we try and treat the patients so that they don't go to stages 3 and 4, or we try and slow the progression.
If somebody's listening to us right now who's been diagnosed with heart failure, or somebody's listening and wants some tips on how to prevent it or how to manage it, what would you advise?
Okay, that's a good question. I'm glad you asked that question, because the goal of prevention is to try and, again, slow the progression from class 1 to class 4. So one of the things I would recommend is that you definitely talk with your healthcare provider about your medications that you're on, and make sure that you're on the optimal medications that will help your condition. In addition to that, we recommend that you avoid things that can cause it to get worse, i.e. pressure being elevated, salt, the amount of salt that you take, alcohol use, and things like that. If you're diabetic, we also recommend that your sugars be controlled, because uncontrolled diabetes can also make heart failure worse. So those are the common things. Medications, make sure you take your medications as prescribed, and talk with your doctor about things that you can do.
Let me talk about men just briefly. Most men, or some men, always have this fear that all these medications would lead to erectile dysfunction, and as a result are not very excited or enthused about taking medications. What would you advise?
A good question. I see a number of patients with erectile dysfunction who are on medications. Often there are times we can try and change the medication to see if that helps. And if it does help, that's good. But again, there are certain classes that we use. For instance, the beta blockers, which is a blood pressure medication, but also a medicine that we use in heart failure, can be notorious in causing erectile dysfunction. Calcium channel blockers can also. So what we try and do is we try and change medications in that class to see if it decreases. And if we try a number of medications and it can't, then there's always an opportunity to try and refer them to a urologist to see if there's help. And if there's nothing that we can do, then I sit down and I give them a frank talk. do you rather have erectile dysfunction, or do you want to die from heart failure? And it sounds kind of blunt, but I have to pose that to some of the questions. Thank God it's not many questions, though.
Would you prefer erectile dysfunction to heart failure?
Yes, sir.
Wow, whoosh. Anyway, so coming from Luca Health, if someone wants more information about heart failure, heart conditions, and all of that, where do they find you?
Okay, I'm located at Luca Health, 27 Mazaru Road, East Lagoon in Accra. The phone number is 054-412-0777.
Let's take the number again.
054-412-0777. I practice exclusively at Luca Health.
Okay, so Luca Health is in East Legon. For those of you who may want to go there, you'd find it's in the same compound as MDS Lancet. Am I right?
That's correct, sir.
All right, great. Doc, thanks for your time this morning, and have a beautiful day.
Thank you, sir. You as well.
Dr. Alfred Gorman is a cardiologist and cardiovascular disease specialist.
Peace FM.
And happy 60th birthday to you, Dr. Mrs. Felicia Ansa Amprofi. The big 60 is here to you, Dr. Mrs. Felicia Ansa Amprofi. It says love and best wishes from Mr. Samson Ansa Amprofi and the Ansa Amprofi family. God richly bless you. As you celebrate your 60th, Dr. Mrs. Felicia Ansa Amprofi. Wishing Ajua Abrifa, Commissioner Ajua Abrifa Esquire of the Electoral Commission. It's from lawyer Tony Forson, your husband, Perpetua Youngson of the Legal Department of SEC. Happy birthday, and from the Forson movement. And so happy birthday, Ajua Abrifa and Perpetua Youngson. Mary Eshan Opong. Happy birthday, Mary Eshan Opong of the Public Affairs Department of ECG Headquarters. It's from Elvis Darko and the 2004 year group of GIJ. Mr. John Bluku Alote, aka JC, aka Johnny Cougar. Happy birthday to you, big brother. And birthday wishes to my lovely husband, Mr. Seth Upoku Bafo. You're the branch manager, ADB, Accra, Newtown. Enjoy your birthday, Mr. Seth Upoku Bafo. It's from your dear Mrs. Kate Upoku Bafo of Seed of Faith, Montessori. Wishing Miss Gloria Abbey of Seed of Faith, Montessori happy birthday from the entire staff. says, happy birthday to my wonderful mother, Evelyn Ampofo. Bless you, Evelyn Ampofo, from Giovanni, Carl, Delois, and Maxwell. Wishing you God's blessings. And the very final one says, happy 40th birthday, Mrs. Sheila Na Lamle Oklu, CEO Jack Snipe Limited. Enjoy your birthday and welcome to old age, Mrs. Sheila Na Lamle Oklu. It's from Team Tarragon Edge. Bless you the same.